What insurance should you make sure that your property manager is carrying when you go to hire them? My name is Mark Ganley, properly insured property manager here at GC Realty Development and also co-host of Chicago's #1 real estate investing podcast, Straight Up Chicago Investor. And today I just want to kind of talk to you about something that a lot of people don't ask. I know we get 1,000+ inquiries for property management on an annual basis, and the question, we're always asking them about insurance for their house, their property, their building. But no one's ever asking us about the insurance we have. And that's an important question. That's probably more important than a lot of the questions that get asked about how you handle your day-to-day stuff. So I want to kind of go over with you today what insurances you want to make sure your property manager has in place. And I'm speaking specifically here in Illinois, and this could probably be very valid anywhere here in the United States. But first and foremost, your property manager should be carrying general liability insurance. That's anything that could go wrong with their building, their office, maybe somebody, just general liability, anything that could go wrong. That is kind of a catch-all for businesses. It's called business insurance, right? I'm not an insurance carrier or seller, so I won't be able to describe exactly what everyone does, but general liability is something that your property manager should have. The next one that is required, and I did a video recently on, make sure your property manager is licensed. And licensed brokers, managing brokers here that are doing property management in Illinois, they're required to cover E&O insurance. E&O is errors and omissions insurance. So if you market something on accident, or maybe you fax somebody that's on a no fax list on accident, E&O insurance will step in and cover that. But if you're working with a property manager that's not licensed, more than likely they don't have E&O, and that means that if something goes wrong, there's no one to file a claim against or really pick up the bag that was dropped there on something stupid that happened. So a lot of times E&O covers a lot of dumb, silly things that just people did wrong on accident. So far we got general liability, E&O, workers' comp. So does your property manager carry workers' comp? I think a lot of small property management companies don't carry it, and they say maybe it's because they only work with contractors and so forth. But for us, workers' comp, it could be a property manager going out to a property that falls and hurts himself on your property, or it could be us sending one of our technicians out to one of your properties and they fall off a ladder. Ultimately, what you want is a layer between your property insurance and your property manager that can basically cover if something goes wrong. So if my property manager goes out to your place, rolls their ankle, and this happened before. I went out with one of my team, and they wore the wrong shoes. It was property being rehabbed, and they actually broke their ankle. Unfortunately, they fell, twisted it a funny way, and they broke their ankle. Now, the owner's insurance didn't cover it, and they wouldn't cover it, but my workers' insurance, workers' comp insurance picked it up. And that also stops if the workers' comp file is claimed through me. That means there's no chance that, think about this, an employee can hurt themselves, quit, and then sue everybody. That means you're not going to ever find yourself in those situations if your property manager is carrying workers' comp. And this kind of falls along the lines with the guys that are doing work at your property. So even if I hire somebody and maybe they don't have insurance and they get hurt, or I send somebody out there and they have somebody working for them for the day and I don't even know about it, they get hurt, it's going to hit me and my workers' comp policy before it ever hits your homeowner's policy. So far I got the 3 insurances: general liability, E&O, and workers' comp. Now those are 3 that are probably just must-haves that you should make sure that whoever you're working with is carrying. Now these other ones are important as well too. So cyber insurance, it's something that we've picked up a separate policy on recently, and that's if we get hacked. Somebody could hold our data systems hostage if we don't send them $50,000 in Bitcoin. That stuff's happening right now, and one way to offset that risk is through cyber insurance. We could wire money to the wrong place because somebody hacked us and sent us different wiring instructions that were not valid. That is cyber insurance that would cover stuff like that. So that is something that is probably wasn't important 5-7 years ago, but it's important today, and it's definitely something that we carry. The other one is EPC, so Employee Protection. EPL, Employee Protection. I forget what the L stands for, but that is basically, if I have an employee that takes money, or if I have an employee that accidentally falls prey to a scam and sends somebody money that they shouldn't, or somebody hacks this never happened, but if something ever happened, got hacked, and our clients didn't change their bank account, but someone else changed on their behalf, and we sent out money to this other account, then they'd be covered by that as well too. So a lot of these employee type policies end up being, if something just goes wrong, or if you have bad characters. I can't say it's ever happened here at our company, but I hear all the time property management companies getting in trouble because somebody was ciphering $1,000 a month for the last 60 months and no one realized it because it's such a small dollar amount. That is something that you're at risk in when you work with a property manager. So you want to make sure that you're covered or they have the right coverages to make sure you're not the person that's going to write that check for some crazy employee that went rogue. The other thing that's big nowadays too, that is, it's becoming less of a would be nice to have and probably should have, is fair housing. There is lots of ways that you could break fair housing rules, or lots of ways people can say that you're violating fair housing, even if it's not intentional. Recently, some of the larger property managers in the multifamily space got in trouble for their property management software was setting rates based on local demand. So they're saying, due to this algorithm that was setting rents, you're being biased against people that can't afford these lower rents, or you're violating fair housing against people that are of different nationalities in certain neighborhoods because you're jacking up rents based on this algorithm. So that's something that's real, and no one intentionally did it. They're just trying to find a way to be a better landlord, a better housing provider from the investor side of things. So fair housing coverage is something that's more and more important. And remember, with fair housing, the problem you run into is if someone accuses you of fair housing, whether you did anything or not, it's usually a guilty till proven innocent scenario. And if you are trying to prove your innocence, you usually it takes time, it takes effort, it takes resources, attorneys, and there could be a lot of money at stake for your property manager. And the last thing you want is your property manager going bankrupt because they spend all their efforts trying to fight something that they never even did. So fair housing coverage, that's something we've picked up in recent years as well too. That's super important for any property manager to cover and have these days. And last but not least, an umbrella policy. So an umbrella policy, a lot of you guys might have that personally. Have a property manager have an umbrella policy, just kind of as a catch-all. If something happens crazy with our general liability that doesn't get covered, or something kind of falls outside of these different policies I'm listing off here, you have the opportunity to last kind of backstop that maybe this umbrella policy will be something they'll cover. So we live in a very litigious world these days. And there's and the shame of it is it's not always just people. It ends up it's not always just residents or tenants or neighbors. It ends up being sometimes law firms that are looking for these class action lawsuit opportunities, and they see the real estate industry as being people that have the deep pockets to be able to pay out some sick claims. So keep that in mind. A lot of times you have these coverages not because you think something's going wrong, but it's more of just because something could go wrong. And in this unpredictable world, insurance is there for, it's the old saying, I'd rather have a gun and not use it versus not have a gun and need it. So keep that in mind. If you're interviewing property managers or you're working with a property manager, maybe this is a checklist you might run by them and see where coverage they have. Because ultimately, if your property manager is in trouble, or if they have claims they have to pay out, or if they get sucked into these different obligations, if they're in trouble, and again, a lot of times property managers don't do anything wrong. They just get sucked into something because they got dragged into something on accident, or it's a guilty to proven innocent type scenario. And that ends up taking resources and time and money from your property manager. So you want to make sure that they're covered for all these type of events. So if you have additional questions about insurance, love to talk to you. If you're looking for a property manager, love to talk to you. We also have tenant placement if you want to manage your own property as well too. And we'd love to hear from you. We'll talk soon.